Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Dragon Prince, Season 3, Episode 2. So, last time we started off the season really kicking things off well with Raya and, or not Raya, wrong thing, Rayla, rather, and Callum confronting the blind dragon and basically using cunning to get their way past him. Meanwhile, Ezrin has returned to the kingdom and to his throne, so hopefully we get to see more of what happens with that. Aunt Amaya, General Amaya, has basically sacrificed herself in order to complete their mission. She's being held prisoner by the Sunfire Elves, and that's kind of all we know at the moment after that, because she kind of blew up the bridge, and it's like, we don't know if there's going to be any way to fix that or to get her back or whatnot. I assume there's going to be, but we'll have to see. And things are just progressing. It's going to be interesting to see how this season goes, because with it having been so long since I reacted to the first two seasons, it's like getting back into this is admittedly going to be a little difficult. I won't lie about that. And I'm considering checking out some reactions to the first couple seasons to kind of refresh things there as I watch this. It might be a good idea. It might not really make too much of a difference, but there's no harm, right? But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where the rest of this goes. It was a good start to the season. And so we're going to get on with it with episode 2. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, with the first episode, by far, my favorite part was the Callum and Rayla plot, I guess you could call it. Dealing with the blind dragon and having to figure out how to get past him to get into Zadia was excessively interesting and really cool to see. Not only just seeing their just intelligence come through in figuring out how to get past him, but also just the interactions with him as well. The other stuff in the first episode was good, especially with General Maya and all. But the Callum Rayla stuff was really the highlight of the first episode for me, especially coming back into a new season after having not watched any of this for a long time. In this episode, the Callum and Rayla stuff was actually my least favorite part. And honestly, I really didn't like it. Like, the idea conceptually was good, but the execution was so juvenile. Like, I'm fine with puns. I like puns. I think puns are a genuinely good form of humor. But, one, they can be overdone. And two, they're meant as a joke. They're not meant to be like a serious thing. So having all of these plants and animals and whatnot in Zadia being given pun names, like pretty much everything, is jarring. And that's it's like that's not how puns are supposed to work. But on top of that, the actual like concepts of these plants and creatures and stuff are really childish. Like the fart flower thing, or just all the different names she spouted off for it. Um, well, that is just like this show is better than that, right? This show is better than making a dumb fart joke. Like I thought we as a society were past fart jokes. Like you don't see those in anything anymore. And now in two different things I've seen that in, and it just felt so out of place and so juvenile. It's not funny. Uh, Rayla and the Last Dragon, and now this. Funny enough, I accidentally said Rayla early on, um, in this reaction and all. But yeah, it's like both that movie and now this have had a notable fart joke, and it's like it just feels wrong. Not only just to have a fart joke at this time, like in 2021, it's like, again, I thought we were beyond that at this point. But for the tone of both the movie and this series, for the context of everything we've seen in them, like outside of that, it feels like it just doesn't fit. Like it makes no sense to be there. Like with everything in here that in Dragon Prince that we've heard about Zadia, everything that we've seen from the Zadians and whatnot, it's like, yeah, I expected that at least part of Zadia would be like kind of this magical, like glowing forest kind of thing. Sure. Like the one in Pokemon Sword and Shield, where you find like the Galarian Ponytas and whatnot. Like, yeah, I expected that. But again, it's the specifics of what they got into. Like, I was fine with Callum, like, going completely fanboy over everything, having magic and whatnot. That was great. But once it started getting into all of the stupid, like, juvenile puns and the fart flowers and shit, and it's like, it went too far. And I feel like nothing of worth happened in that plot point in this episode. And yeah, this episode focused a lot more heavily on Ezrin, and I'll get to that. But the stuff with Callum and Rayla in this episode felt pointless. It felt like filler. Like you didn't need to show it. Nothing in it was actually important. It was basically just like, oh, this is at least partially what Zadia looks like. It's just the actual plot of what was going on, is what I'm saying, was nothing. There was nothing to it. It was pointless. It didn't have any level of necessity to be shown. And unfortunately, because the stuff that they did show in there was so juvenile in its writing, it made it feel off. And I really could not get into it. And I really hope the next episode does better with that. Because it's like, again, this show has not gone into that juvenile and that childish of humor before. That is so ridiculous. And it's like, it just didn't feel like it fit the tone of this series. Like, even the comedic parts. It was so off, and it just felt like a completely different show at that point. Like, it was bad. Let's just leave it at that. It was bad. But the A plot, which focused on Ezran learning to be a king and learning what he's going to try and do as a king now that he has these responsibilities and stuff, that was actually extremely good. So it's like this episode kind of gave me whiplash in a way. It's like on one side, you have really bad writing and juvenile humor, and on the other side, you have excellent writing and even really good humor. Like there was really good humor in the Ezran plot in this episode. Um, the joke, like when the one guard, like when Ezran's like, "You don't need to repeat everything I say," and the other guard's like, "You don't need to repeat the king requests you not repeat him," and then a second later he's like, "I realized what I said when I said it," and it's like, or however it exactly went, that was actually genuinely really funny. That was a good joke. And it's like, it makes no sense that it's so different than the humor used in the A plot. But again, or the B plot. Let's focus. So, with the A plot, Ezran has ascended to the throne, but is definitely unsure about it. Unsure about how he's going to follow in his father's footsteps as king. He's a kid. Why would he know how to rule a kingdom? Like, of course he's going to be nervous. Of course he's going to be scared. He's not ready, like I said. So he starts getting all of these official duties thrust upon him. He has to decide Claudia and Soren's fate, having been captured and everything. And, you know, they're the sons of Viren, so. Also, it's a little annoying that Claudia is still defending her father, trying to like make excuses. Like, no, he wouldn't do that. You must have misheard him and stuff like that. It's like, oh my god, girl, I get it. It's your father, but you have to be able to see the truth here. Your father's an evil shitbag. Um, I really hope that she understands better about this as the season goes on. Soren seems to get it. He seems to understand how shitty his orders were and everything. But anyway, so outside of that, he also he learns of these neighboring kingdoms and everything having lost the kings and queens and all of that, and another one being injured, all because of these Zadian assassins. Prince ends up coming and requests that they go to war, as he had been called, as we know, by Viren prior, regarding this. And Ezran, he doesn't fully know what to do, but he knows he doesn't want to go to war. He knows he wants to try for peace, but he's still so overwhelmed by everything. So he basically puts it on hold for the moment. He talks with the one woman who I don't think I know her name. I don't. It might have said it, but I don't remember if it did. But he talks to her, and the idea of a regent is brought up, and this was actually something that I had been up to that point thinking about. Like, okay, he's clearly not ready. He's this young kid. He's not ready to rule a kingdom. So I was thinking about, like, yeah, a regent would make sense. But it's true that it would have to be someone he trusts wholly, because any other option would be, well, this is how you get a Viren, basically. Although he wasn't regent, but you know what I mean. It's the same kind of idea to it. Ezran thinks it over, and in the end comes to a different decision. He realizes he doesn't have to try to rule like his father did. that he can rule in his own way, that he's going to be his own king. But he also realizes that he needs to make these decisions, that he may not be entirely ready, but that he wants to make sure the right thing is done. And so he has to make sure that it's him leading here. And his speech, in which he tells everyone this, is a really fantastic scene. Seeing him show maturity, but also just realness. Like, you see the just genuine humanity in him. Like, especially when he mentions, like, it's like, you saw the king as like this great conqueror, this hero and everything, but I just saw him as my father. It's like that was such a great moment. Um, and he decides that he's not going to take a regent, but he's going to finally take his true place as king. He even puts on the crown, which he had been avoiding doing. And he makes his decisions. He sets Claudia and Soren free, choosing to give them a second chance, knowing that they weren't behind their father's actions, or at least not willingly so. Or rather, not behind, but they weren't adhering to their father's evils willingly, knowingly. Well, Soren more knowingly, but you know what I mean. And he tells the prince from the neighboring kingdom, it's like, no, we're not going to war. I feel for you. I understand. I am sorry about your father's death and everything, but we have to be better. And the prince goes away looking really angry, and I get it. I've in all of these different shows, anime, games, whatever, like, I get it when a character becomes vengeful after their loved one dies, and that they want to seek that vengeance. They want to get that kind of catharsis from that. I very much get that. But at the same time, it takes a lot more strength and maturity to go against that idea, to show peace and forgiveness and a willingness to just kind of, how do I put it? Kind of move on in a way, but not move on, not necessarily like forget or anything. Just kind of like, just work towards peace in general. That takes a lot more strength a lot of times. Seeking vengeance is easy. Seeking vengeance is something anyone can do. But not anyone has the strength to forgive. Not everyone has the strength to seek out peace in the midst of that. And unfortunately, I don't think this prince is going to. Judging on what we saw, I don't think he's going to. Now, in this episode, we didn't get anything more with Viren. We didn't get anything more with Amaya or anyone who was with her. It was pretty much solely focused on the A plot and B plot here. And again, the A plot was so much better than the B plot. It's like, it feels like a different show. The A plot had humor in it, but it was focused. It kept its tone even with the humor. And it felt like a natural continuation of the first episode and just of the show. The B plot, like, yeah, again, I believe they would head into there, but with the juvenile humor being so jarring, so like excessively jarring and cringy and childish, it basically ruined the immersion, because it felt completely out of place in this series. In terms of tone and writing, it just did not fit with this series. And I really, really got annoyed. Again, puns aren't meant to be used that way. The humor was childish, and the B plot really did nothing to add to the story other than just introducing us to Zadia. But the actual plot, the actual things that were happening, were not important at all. So it kind of comes again across as it didn't need to be done. I don't know. Hopefully you understand what I mean. But anyways, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of The Dragon Prince Season 3, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.